I really do feel like there is something so magical about getting to make things and getting to share them with other people. I did knit more than ever this year, but more importantly to me, I really challenged myself. I didn't shy away from things that I thought were a little bit too advanced for me or things that made me nervous. So I feel like I knit more this year, but I also grew a lot this year as a knitter. My first year, I kind of got scared of things that looked intimidating, and this year I really plunged ahead. I tried not to pick stuff that was too crazy or too complex. I didn't want to get in over my head, but I did try to introduce some new techniques and new ideas into basically every pattern that I made. I'm going to try to go through this chronologically, but there are some that I didn't keep really great records on, so I'm just going to do my best. The first project that I made this year, I'm calling my square hat. I made this in January, and I made it over the course of a couple of weeks. We had a really big snow, which is unusual for where I live, and so I had a lot of time. This is technically the first thing that I have ever designed for myself. Now, I can't say that this is like the most novel, groundbreaking design I have ever seen, so I hesitate to even say that I designed it. It's basically just a big tube that I knit in the round and then seamed flat on both sides. And what I was going for, I really love the cat ear beanies, but I wanted something that was a little bit more evil looking, a little bit sillier, and I wanted more of like a devil horn kind of thing. And I feel like I got there. I did make it a little bit smaller than I meant to. I kind of didn't take into account the fact that the double-sided like tube folding in on itself was going to make the circumference a little bit tighter. So if I were to make another one, which I think I will probably make another one, I would make it a little teeny bit wider and a little teeny bit longer so that it comes down a little bit more. But this was a really fun one. I wear it all the time. This is probably my most worn knit of anything that I've made this year or ever. Up next are the Fingerless Mittens that I made by Iris H. And I actually made these with leftover scraps from my square hat. I made them right after I wanted something to go with my hat. And this was a wonderful pattern as a beginner. I had made socks before, but I had not worked with double pointed needles, and I hadn't done anything with such a small circumference as the thumb hole. I like to walk my dogs in the neighborhood, and I don't like wearing like full gloves or even like fingered mittens. So this was a good call for me. I wear them all the time. I get compliments on them all the time. And this is a great basic pattern that I could kind of like do whatever I wanted. My only complaint with these is that I do feel like I kind of cut the thumb a little bit short. So I've got extra of this green yarn, and I think that I would like to maybe at some point go in and add a little bit more to the thumb just because my thumbs get a little bit cold. The next thing that I made two little rats. I only have one now because I gave one away as a present. This was a really fun project, and I had just kind of mastered the double pointed needles with the fingerless gloves. And so I wanted to make something like little and plushy. And so this one I just followed the pattern as written. And then the other one I wanted to make as like a little weighted rat. And so I put a fishing weight in it and sort of like shortened it a little bit so that it like sat as a real weight. I made both of the rats that I made really, really quickly, and then, I don't know, I thought I was gonna make more, and I kind of haven't come back to it. The embroidery that I did on the face, I don't know, it's a little bit goofy, but I think they're really cute. The next thing that I jumped into, I made these for myself originally, and I don't actually have a picture. I followed the pattern for Hermione's everyday socks, and I thought the pattern was really fun to follow. It was a textured pattern for the socks, and it's the first like textured pattern that I had done. And they ended up fitting me a little bit more loosely. I hadn't really taken into account the fact that stockinette socks versus a textured sock might have a different tension to it. And so I ended up giving them to my mom. I did use sort of like a speckled yarn for it, and I feel like it worked really nicely with the pattern, although I do think that maybe just like a single color, like solid color pattern for the socks would work nicely with the pattern too and kind of highlight the pattern. But that was the first textured sock pattern that I had ever done, and it was pretty fun. I would probably make another pair of these socks as a gift, but for me, I think I prefer just like the vanilla sock, a plain stockinette sock. It's just a little bit more comfortable, and I feel like it fits my feet a little bit better. Up next, I made this hat. It's the classic ribbed hat by Pearl Soho. This was also a gift. It's a gift for my partner, so it's a little bit too big for me. It was a simple hat, just a 1x1 rib, I think, or maybe it was a 2x. Oh wait, I'm lying to you. It was just straight stockinette. No, it's a 1x1 rib. And this one was a little bit different for me because I had never at that point carried my yarn up for stripes. I'd always just cut the yarn off at the end of the stripe and then woven it in. So I had a bajillion things to weave in. So this was my first time doing that and it turned out really nicely. It's super thick, super warm, very nice. This is a free pattern. So if you're looking for a hat, I would recommend it. I did kind of screw up on the section where I was carrying the yarn over. So there's a little bit of a gap there that I don't love, but overall, really nice project. And it was like a nice mindless project to work on. And this was scrap yarn that I had. And so I was really happy to get to use up some scrap yarn on this project. At this point, we were far enough in the year that I felt like I was ready to start a big project. And I jumped right in on my first ever sweater. Ta-da! This is the Step by Step sweater by Florence Miller, and this was my first ever sweater that I had knit. I love green and I love stripes, and so I made a green striped sweater. I didn't do the German short row shaping for the front, and I really wish that I had because it does sit a little funny on my chest. So I would like to make this pattern again at some point, and I would definitely do the German short rows. But if you are thinking about making a sweater and you haven't made a sweater yet, I would definitely recommend this pattern. It is a free pattern and she has an amazing tutorial on YouTube that you can watch and follow along with. And this was just like a really great confidence boost for me. And it took me absolutely forever, like months and months for no reason, but that was a me issue and definitely not a pattern issue. So this is it. And I really am proud of this. And this was like, for me, I think a little bit of a moment where I realized like, oh, I can start sort of pushing myself a little bit harder and a little bit farther on things that maybe feel scary to me. So this was a big moment for me. And I took that energy into my next project, which is this shirt. It is the 1993 tee by Jessie Maid, and I used a cotton blend on this. And I actually was inspired by a picture that I saw Hayley Williams from Paramore at a concert performing in a shirt that was hand knit by McKenna Murgieff. You should definitely check out their work because it is very cool. But I was inspired by that top and I wanted to see if I could follow a pattern to get something similar to that. And so I found this. It came out this year. I learned a lot of new skills with this one. So I really honed in on the German short rows on this. I did a folded down collar, which was new to me, and then a folded seam on the bottom. So I really did learn a lot of things on this pattern and I'm really, really happy with how it turned out. Something that I didn't think about when I was knitting this is I'm terrified to wear a white hand knit thing. So I haven't worn this that much, but mostly because I don't want to ruin it. So I would absolutely make this pattern again, and I actually plan to make this pattern again probably this year, but I'm going to do it in a darker color that I'm not so nervous about ruining. But this is that. Very big deal for me. This was one where I felt like, I don't know, I felt like I like made it as a knitter and that I was ready to like keep climbing to higher and higher mountains, if you will. I jumped into some sock making because at this point it was summertime and it gets really hot where I live and it is just not nice to sit with like a big sweater or any like big heavy duty project. So over the summer I got into a bunch of like smaller projects and particularly socks. So the first pair of socks I made, it was just a pair of vanilla socks for my partner. I don't really have too much to say about these socks or this project except that I love this colorway and I love this yarn. I got this from a local dyer in Atlanta when we went on a trip, and I do like to buy souvenir yarn, preferably from local dyers. I have a little bit left over of this yarn and I'm trying to decide what to do with it because I think it's just like such a special color. But that is his pair of socks. And I also made myself a pair of socks. These are mine. I used his yarn from his socks to like decorate my socks. And then this crazy green color is also from that same dyer. I just love how vibrant and how just like absolutely wild her sock or her yarn colors are. I want more of this. If you know other people or other dyers that are doing that's just these absolutely wild colors, please let me know because I want to buy all of these types of colors. This was the first colorwork socks that I had ever done. This is the first real colorwork I think that I had done ever. And so this was a new type of project for me. I really liked doing the color work. I felt like it kept me like engaged, and I actually think that the color work part went faster for me than just the regular stockinette because I was so focused on getting to the next layer and the next row. I did make these a little bit too tight, which is unfortunate. I think my floats were kind of tight, but overall I think that I should have just like maybe sized up a little bit on this. They fit, they are a little bit too tight, which is a bummer, but you live and you learn. And I did live and learn because I made another pair of socks. This is another little colorwork cuff pattern. Oh, and both of these patterns were from Summer Lee's Cuff Club. I think it was from last year. I don't think it was this year's Cuff Club, but I made this pair of socks, and these do fit. They're the right size, and I did much better on the floats. Now there is less color work on the top, so I'm not sure that I deserve 100% of the credit. It might be more to do with the nature of the color work. But just another little like stockinette pair of socks, but with some sweet little color work at the top. I haven't worn these as much. They're cute as can be, but they're not necessarily my style. I think I might end up giving these away just because I never wear them. After that, I made a little gift for one of my doggies. Now, you might recognize this yarn, but I had leftover yarn from my step-by-step sweater, and so I made my dog a matching sweater. And I used a free pattern. It's the Portland Raglan dog sweater, and I'll link all of these patterns, of course. But I made this. She loves it. It's a really fun way to use up some scraps, and I love like getting to wear my sweater and match my dog in her sweater. Yeah, I would recommend if you haven't made a sweater for a little dog in your life, you definitely should because, I mean, how cool is that? And the last thing that I made for myself this year is the Petite Knit Cloud sweater. I love this sweater. I just finished it not even that long ago, maybe 2 months ago, and I have worn this so many times. It's just like the perfect shape. It is like oversized a little bit, but not too oversized. I love it. And the yarn is really soft. I wasn't sure how this yarn was gonna hold up. This is Barocco Wizard, and it's super duper soft. It's like a chainette construction yarn, and I was very worried that it was gonna pill, but so far it's been really good. Now I do hand wash it, and I don't hand wash it that often. I kind of wear it several times until I really feel like I need to wash it, but it has held up very well. This was an awesome second sweater for me. This is a drop shoulder construction, and so it was different than the step-by-step sweater, and I feel like I learned a lot from this one too. I cannot recommend following this pattern enough. It was such a good and informative pattern as a person who wants to knit more garments but doesn't necessarily know that much about garment making. So 100% recommend. I plan to make another one of these sweaters with a different yarn, probably a solid yarn. Just, I love this sweater, and I get so many compliments on this sweater too. And now we are into gift knits, and I have quite a few. So I haven't actually given these gift knits away yet. I have them done. It is just past Christmas now when I'm filming this, and so all of these are gonna be shipped off to the people that they belong to soon, but they are done. And if you're interested, I did make a video finishing all of my gift knits, and you can go back on my channel and look at that too, if you would like. This is the first thing that I made. These are the Be Happy socks, and I made these for my sister, and I feel like my color work cuffs that I did during the summer really helped me get started on this and not be too scared. It is a bunch of color work on the socks, and I just loved this pattern. It was so cool to make the bee wings. And a lot of this was scrap yarn too, so it was nice to get to use up some scrap yarn for something that somebody was really gonna love. I think that if I were to remake these, I would do a little bit more of a contrasting color on the honeycomb part. I think the white and the yellow kind of gets lost a little bit, but other than that, so much fun, really cool socks. After that, I made this little hat for my dad. This is a hat that he specifically requested, this style of hat, and I made it, and I really don't know about this one. I think that something went wrong with what I was doing because The pattern shows like a really nice like flat top on the hat, and this has all these like really thick ridges. So I think that at some point I went off-road on the pattern and just like didn't do what I was supposed to do. So this is one where I had to do like to build in a brim, and that was a very cool concept to me, and I actually kind of want to try that again on a different style of hat, maybe more of like a baseball cap, or honestly even like a full brim hat, almost like a bucket hat or a straw hat. I think that would be so weird and so cool. But yeah, this one, I don't know, and I'm gonna send it to him and see if it fits him better, because it also is just too big for my head. So that might be part of my problem, but this is one that I'm just really not super sure about. But they can't all be wins. And I feel like I had a really good year of stuff that I was super happy with. So if I have one thing that's not my favorite, that's okay. It does kind of stink that it's a gift that I'm not sold on, but oh well. Next, I made my mom a pot holder with little chickens on it. I think this was really cute. I had never done this much color work, and it was awesome. I had so much fun. I especially really liked the pattern part because I feel like I could just get into a groove, a lot like doing the pattern on the cuffs of the socks, where I was just like really like, I don't know, almost like in a trance of doing color work. And it was awesome. Don't have too much to say about this pattern. I think she'll really like it. It's definitely more of like a decorative pot holder, but ta-da! And last but not least, I made this little bandana for my partner. This is the Lowkey Bandana by Lowkey Knits. I had such a fun time making this pattern. This was a 4-row repeat on it, so you kind of got into a groove again, and it made it really nice and rewarding to like do a section at a time, because you could like feel like you had done something, and then it would be really easy to be like, oh, I just want to do one more repeat, one more repeat, one more repeat. So I love these colors and I love how they turned out. And this is one that you can kind of like tie on your head, or if you want to wear it like a bandana, that's easy too. And just like a really fun kind of unisex sort of bandana pattern. I like that it's a little bit more utilitarian looking than like a super floral lace kind of pattern. And those are all of my big projects for the year. It is just like so magical to look back on everything that I made. And it's crazy to think that like a year ago, I had not made a sweater. I'd only made one pair of socks. I had never done anything with double pointed needles. I had never done any kind of color work. And it is just, you know, you get in the mindset of making one thing at a time, and it doesn't feel like you're doing all that much. But then when you really like look back at what's been going on, it feels so good to have grown like that. My hope is not to make a billion things every year. My hope is to make things that I'm excited to make, and to learn from making those things, and to make things that are appreciated either by myself or the person that's receiving them. And I'm hoping to take that energy into 2026. If you liked this video, or you're interested in following along with what I'm doing next year, I would love it if you considered subscribing if you want. And I will see you next time. Bye.